everyone, I'm Maki. Do you like white mobile suits? The original 0079 Gundam was also known as a white mobile suit by Zeon soldiers. And as many stories were created, mobile suits painted entirely white also began to appear. The Q-Ballet has gained many fans despite being an enemy unit. Personally, I really like TALLGEESE from Gundam Wing. Today, I'd like to introduce the G-Exes from Gundam Age. It's an extremely powerful mobile suit. Its pilot is Wolf Annie Akra, an ace pilot in the Earth Federation forces. If you take a closer look, you'll see that the G-Exes also have features that resemble the TALLGEESE. Let's explore the secrets of the G-Exes together. If you'd like to support my channel, please consider joining the 99-cent monthly membership. As a thank you, you'll receive a name badge and comment stamps. Now, let's begin our research. The G-Exes is a mobile suit that Wolf Annie Akra commissioned the Madono workshop to build. However, the circumstances of its creation were extremely illegal and a serious violation of military regulations. In the story, Fritz states that it is illegal to request mobile suit modifications from an organization that is not authorized by the Federation forces. Furthermore, the G-Exes used data from the Gundam Age 1, which was taken without permission by Wolf. The Gundam Age 1 is a highly classified secret of the Earth Federation forces. Taking such data was a very dangerous act, even for Wolf. For example, in the Universal Century, any commander who operated a Gundam without permission was executed by firing squad. Although this event occurred in a different world, Wolf's actions are very similar. However, the novel version provides more detailed information about the design of the G-Exes. In fact, Mukuret Madono, the owner of the Madono workshop, had connections with Hendrik Bruiser, a commander in the Earth Federation forces. He had also received Gundam development data from Bruiser. The Madono workshop later supplied the Shadow series as officially adopted mobile suits for the Earth Federation forces. Additionally, the General Suit custom, which he had modified, formed the basis of the General Suit 2's design. The Madono workshop had secretly been cooperating with the Earth Federation forces since the beginning of the story. The G-Exes were also completed at an astonishing speed. In the story, it was finished in less than a day. This astonishing completion speed is perhaps not so surprising when we consider that they were already in a technical partnership with the Earth Federation forces. The novel also states that Wolf requested the G-Exes design even before providing the Age 1 data. Assuming that the nearly completed G-Exes were finalized by incorporating the Age 1 data, their completion at such an incredible speed would make sense. Furthermore, the Madono workshop possesses such advanced technology that Beigan secretly requested mobile suit upgrades from them. Despite holding data from XDV, Beigan still saw technical cooperation with the Madono workshop despite the risk of information leaks, which demonstrates just how advanced the workshop is. They may even possess a system similar to the Age system that can manufacture mobile suit parts at high speed. Fans are left to interpret this as they wish. The G-Exes was developed based on the Shadow, a mobile suit designed by the Madono workshop. While it is not exactly a successor to the General Suit custom that Wolf had been piloting, it does incorporate his combat data. However, as his combat data was naturally reflected in its design, it could be considered a successor. As mentioned earlier, data from the Gundam Age 1 was also incorporated. Coincidentally, G-Exes was born from the gathering of all of humanity's technology. The meaning of the letter G in its name is not explained in the story. However, there is a hint about this in the official spin-off story, Unknown Soldiers. During the period where Wolf was competing as a mobile sports racer, he piloted a unit called the Shaodoji. Wolf used the letter G as an abbreviation for glitter. However, he also realized that Madonna had named it G after the legendary server, Gundam. The G in G-Exes therefore stands for both glitter and Gundam. The novel also states that a substantial amount of money was required to develop the G-Exes. Wolf invested all the prize money he had earned as a mobile sports racer in order to complete it. In this case, it would be more accurate to interpret it as development cost rather than manufacturing cost. A later model, the G-Exes jacket was designed and provided to the space pirates Visit Dian. Visit Dian is not a regular military force, but an irregular pirate group. Unlike the Earth's Federation forces, they do not have massive financial and material support from a central government. It would be impossible for Visit Dian to operate a mobile suit that incurs such high costs. Therefore, it is reasonable to assume that the funds provided by Wolf were used to develop the technology needed to create a mobile suit with comparable performance to a Gundam. The completed G-Exes fought alongside the Gundam AH-1 and achieved overwhelming results in battle. There is also a scene in which Asim Fritzson holds a model of the G-Exes. Was the success of the G-Exes promoted as something heroic, leading to the release of a model kit? Or did Frick personally make a model of the G-Exes and give it to Asim as a gift? This point is left open to interpretation by each fan. The G-Exes was designed to be an extremely high-performance mobile suit, but it also had major flaws. These fatal weaknesses made it unsuitable for operation within a military organization. Perhaps Grudek no was able to operate these weapons because he was essentially running a de facto rebel army that privately managed as Federation Forces personnel and soldiers. It was precisely because he wasn't part of the regular army that he was able to continue using these defective weapons. The first issue is maintenance. The parts used throughout the entire unit were not standardized at all, and even the manufacturers of the connection products were different, as mentioned in the novel. Consequently, standard Federation parts could not be used, and a large number of GS-specific components had to be brought aboard the Diver. Had they chosen to operate General Su units instead of G-Exes, the same amount of manpower, effort, and storage space would have supported several platoons of General Su units. It can therefore be said that the use of G-Exes was only permitted due to the situation, whereas Federation mobile suits were completely unable to defeat the enemy. The second flaw is also maintenance related. The G-Exes were built with extreme precision, pushing the limits of technology. As a result, the entire unit had to undergo full inspection after each sortie and return, and many parts needed to be replaced. The burden on the maintenance team was enormous. However, as you saw, the G-Exes operated without issue until the end of the battle. The Diva's mechanics stuff are truly impressive given the high level of skill they demonstrated. Decade Gunhale also participated in this battle as a technical staff member. He would later contribute to the technical development of the Gundam AH-1 assault jacket. The assault jacket would go on to form the basis of the full Glana design. It is not an exaggeration to say that the poor maintenance of the G-Exes helped the mechanics team to grow and eventually contributed to saving the world. Finally, there is the difficulty of piloting. While the foot pedals and throttle are capable of producing high output, they require great skill to operate due to their extreme sensitivity. Even the slightest mistake can result in excessive propellant consumption, leaving the unit unable to fight. Furthermore, the main power source, the plasma reactor, could explode. In the novel, Grudeck, interested in the high performance of G-Exes, asks Lagan to conduct operational testing based on mass production. Lagan pilots the G-Exes in a simulator, but dies 19 times within just 30 minutes of operation. 12 of these were the result of self-destructs caused by piloting errors. Lagan is an extremely skilled mobile suit operator. In materials relating to the H1 unit to Gunpla, it is revealed that Wolf highly evaluates Lagan's abilities and appoints him as the pilot of H1 Unit 2. Wolf is very realistic when it comes to evaluating skill and would never assign someone as a Gundam pilot simply because they are on good terms. Even someone as skilled as Lagan found it difficult to pilot the G-Exes. This was probably because the unit was tuned to match Wolf's personal habits to an extreme degree. However, as mentioned earlier, a modified version called the G-Exes jacket was later designed. It is reasonable to assume that piloting was easier in that version. The same probably applies to maintenance issues as well. The G-Exes are super high-performance units that were rushed into completion during wartime emergencies without regard for cost or mass production. This is a characteristic that it shares with the Gundam-type mobile suits that appear in other stories. Now, let's take a look at the weapons of the G-Exes. The first is the beam balcon, which is mounted in the head. Rather than firing metal bullets, it fires projectiles formed from beams. Outside of the H series, Gundam-type mobile suits traditionally have balcon guns mounted in their heads. However, surprisingly, the H1, H2, H3, and HFX do not have balcon guns installed in their heads. There is an interesting subject of study regarding this matter. That is the Gundam Regulus. This Gundam was created by Beigun using data obtained from the XDP, combined with H3 data. As previously mentioned, Gundams designed by the H system do not have balcon guns in their heads. This suggests that the XDP contained data for mobile suits equipped with head balcon guns. As previously mentioned, Mukuret Modorna has a psychological admiration for Gundam. These the Gundam spoken of as a legend in the H world have had balcon guns. Unfortunately, no further information is available. This is left to the viewer's interpretation. This balcon head is not used much in the story. However, in the novel, it destroys the base of a ground wing. It appears to be powerful enough to effectively target weak points in enemy armor. Next is the beam rifle. It is called the beam rifle rather than a dust rifle. In the official setting material book Mechanic and World, it is also described as a beam rifle. In the official Gundam Series U2 program, it is described as a beam rifle with attack power equal to a dust rifle. It appears to achieve the same level of attack power using different technology to the dust rifle. However, there is no clear information written anywhere. The beam projectiles shown in the story look very similar to those of the dust rifle. As with the beam balcon, could its technological origin be traced back to the XDP? Another possibility is that it combines weapons from past wars with Dust rifle technology. There is one more detail to add. In the novel version, it is actually called a Dust rifle. There are many mysteries surrounding the beam rifle of the G-Exes. How you interpret them is up to you. This will surely give fans the enjoyment of free imagination. Next is the beam saber. This ultra high output model makes full use of the Madonna Workshop's technology. Its attack power is sufficient to destroy the battle, which is equipped with powerful electromagnetic armor. Many sources describe this beam saber as powerful. However, there is very little additional information beyond that. This beam saber is shrouded in mystery. The fact that it can destroy electromagnetic armor capable of nullifying a dog's rifle is astonishing. The technical capabilities of the Madonna Workshop have attracted the attention of Veigan to the extent that they have secretly requested modifications to mobile suits. As mentioned earlier in this program, Veigan possesses data from the XDB. This suggests that Mukuret may have technological capabilities that surpass those of XDB in certain areas. Wolf often fights with two beam sabers at once. He uses them to slice enemies in the shape of the letter X, a technique he calls Wolf Fang. The beam sabers are truly the most important weapons for G-Exes. Now let's take a look at the sub-weapons. First is the missile pod. It is described as a 100mm cable missile pod. However, it is never used in the story. In the novel version, it is equipped with a 100mm anti-ground grenade launcher. This is used against the Veigan infantry encountered at the Space Fortress Combat. It seems that the type of warhead can be changed depending on the mission. Next is the shield. It is a white shadow shield bearing Wolf's personal mark. It is strong enough to defend against the weapons used by Veigan mobile suits. As it is connected to the left arm by a mounting pod, it does not need to be held by hand. This means that the beam saber can be used while the shield is equipped. In the novel version, there is also a scene in which a bazooka is used from the Da mobile suit, Seer. It appears that it can equip and use standard mobile suit weaponry too. Finally, I'd like to mention that the G-Exes may bear a surprising resemblance to a mobile suit from another world. TALLGEESE. It's a popular mobile suit that features in the anime series Gundam Wing. The TALLGEESE combines heavy armor and weaponry with high-output thrusters to achieve high mobility. Surprisingly, G-Exes is actually heavier than the Gundam Age 1. The G-Exes weighs 47.2 tons. The Gundam Age 1 weighs 43.4 tons. The General suit weighs 41.2 tons. Of all the mobile suits operated by the battleship Diver, the G-Exes is the heaviest. This data contradicts its lightweight appearance. For reference, the TALLGEESE weighs 8.8 tons. The Wing Gundam weighs 7.1 tons. It's astonishing how lightweight mobile suits are in the world of Gundam Wing. However, as these are completely different worlds, the differences in overall mobile suit weight may not be very useful for comparison. Nevertheless, the fact that the TALLGEESE is heavier than the Wing Gundam is analogous to the relationship between the G-Exes and the Gundam Age 1. This is just my personal interpretation, but the G-Exes could be described as a mobile suit that achieves high mobility through the use of low thrusters and a substantial amount of propellant. In the story, Fleet says that H1 is superior to G-Exes in terms of joint mechanism and flexibility. This could be explained by the assumption that G-Exes were built with a sturdier structure to withstand the use of high-output thrusters, rather than prioritizing flexibility. That concludes our analysis of the G-Exes. Which aspect did you find most interesting? The G-Exes are mobile suits with performance comparable to a Gundam created by an engineer who admired the Gundam. It's one of my favorite mobile suits too. Thank you for watching until the end. I'll see you again in the next episode.